Okay, so laws that don't get enforced, just throw them out. Why have them? What's the point? What's the point in having laws that you don't enforce? Just get rid of it. Take down the signs, spend the time in court or whatever you need to do, pass some bills, get rid of the law. I just think it's silly, especially when there's signs up for these laws. It's not just like, oh, everyone knows not to jaywalk, but nobody listens to that. Like, I break laws sometimes. I jaywalk. The odd time I speed a hair, and it's just like, well, you know, I'm choosing to ignore that law. That's whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the other end of it, where people aren't enforcing the laws. Because, like, if I got busted jaywalking, I'm like, that sucks, but I knew I was jaywalking, right? Or if it's like, if I get busted for speeding, I've got a speeding ticket before. I didn't argue. I was speeding. That's it. I'm talking about the fact that there's signs up all over the place, especially parking bylaws, that no one, like, very few people listen to them in certain areas because they don't get enforced, and people know they don't get enforced, so then they just keep doing it, and it's really frustrating and annoying. And part of it is because I'm a curmudgeon and I just am a grumpy old man, so I'm like, I just don't even like seeing it, even though it's not a problem in that moment, but it's the potential for a problem. So, like, in Lethbridge, I've never seen this in any other, like in Saskatoon, living there for 12 years, and there was years way before then that I visited often. You know, the 3 major malls there, I never noticed this be a consistent problem the way it is in Lethbridge at the mall. We only have one mall. The fire lane constantly blocked off. Like, constantly people are parked there. Cabs, delivery drivers, like, just people that are just like waiting to pick somebody up. Like, just like, they're not even just dropping them off there and then they keep trucking. Like, they just sit there and wait. And it's just like, what are you doing? You know, like, it's not what that's for. It's the fire lane, and it never gets enforced. Like, when you know that's happening every day, like security, I'm sure they walk around, whatever. Like, it doesn't get enforced. I've never seen anyone get a ticket for it. People keep doing it because they know they can get away with it, and then one day it is going to be a problem. And then, is it just that one time? It's that person to blame? Like, I don't think so. I think part of the blame is the fact that people aren't enforcing the law. If the law doesn't matter, then take down the sign. Get rid of the fire lane thing. Just be like, hey, well, I guess fire trucks just park where they can. That's not their reserved parking spot 24/7 anymore. Just, they never use it anyway. So, but the one time that there is going to be a fire at the mall or whatever, and then they come in, and what are they going to, like, crash into somebody's car, or they're just like going to be too far away, or that person's got to like move all of a sudden if they're even in their car. But just things like that piss me off. Like, one, the parties that are doing certain things, and then 2, the fact that, like, my studio is right across the street from the mall, so I park at the mall a lot because it's like free parking, and then I just walk to the studio. And I see this stuff every single time. Every single day without fail, there's someone parked in the fire lane. Like, you know, it's just, like, that's not the only thing, but this is just my example right now because it's a thing that happens, and it's really frustrating. And like I said, no one enforces it. And then it comes time to do things like, there's things that are city bylaws and things that are like property laws, and like those differ. And there's, like, when I was living in an apartment on the west side of Lethbridge, we had tons of problems with parking because people would just roll in and steal your parking spot. The 3 apartment buildings in that complex, or whatever you want to call it, and there's these different parking lots. Like, we have assigned parking. We have to pay for, like, an extra spot. We all have permits. And then there's like a little sign being like, oh, you'll get towed. And no, they don't have the authority to do that. So why even advertise you're going to do it if you can't follow through? But the thing is that you can call the city, and the city can come give them a ticket. Like, parking enforcement can do that. And then I don't know how long it would take before they got towed. But there's no visitor parking in that lot. So yeah, it's partly like management's fault for not providing visitor parking, because then the people have to park on the street and stuff, and like, that's whatever. that sucks, but if that's the way it is, that's the way it is, and you just gotta comply and just freaking do it. But so many times people were parked in my spot or my partner's spot, and it was just like, get out. Like, I had called parking enforcement so many times, and also that's the other thing, is that they're not efficient, so they don't get there in time, and then the people just keep, again, the people just keep doing it because they think they can do it. The one time parking enforcement actually got there in time. So there was this family, and they were like helping somebody move or something, and I was like, what? Like, I was pretty sure it was their car, and they were in my spot, and I was like, what the heck? And they were in more than one person's spot. Like, there was like 2 or 3 spots taken that were not the people. I mean, once you live in a place for a long time, you get to know like your neighbor's car and whatever. So it wasn't just my spot, my partner's spot. I could tell, like, sometimes it's my neighbor's spot or whatever. It's always annoying, but you can only call parking enforcement about your spot personally. So anyway, the one time they actually came and the vehicle was still there, they just like asked the family to move the vehicle, and then they did, and they didn't get a ticket. Like, that's not cool. Like, parking enforcement wastes all their time going over there just to tell them to do something they know they should have done in the first place, and there's no resolution. Like, there's no justice, I guess. Like, I still had to go and park on the street because I wasn't sitting in my car waiting for 2 hours, because sometimes it takes them that long to get there, and sometimes they never show up at all. And for that time, I think it was like an hour or something, and then they got there, and then they called me, and they're like, oh yeah, we got here, we just told them to move. I'm like, they know that they're not supposed to park there. I was like, really? You didn't give them a ticket? They're like, oh no, we're gonna give them a ticket this time, just let us know if it happens again. And it was like, what? You are parking enforcement. You enforce the law, and the law has consequences. So, like, obviously there's a time and a place for leniency, but as someone who has this happen to them all the time, over and over again, and when it's obviously, like, it displaces me. When I live in that building, and then I have to go and park on the street, then I got groceries and whatever else, and I gotta, like, this incredibly inconvenient, because some idiot is just like, oh, it's too inconvenient for us to walk and then help our friends move or whatever, so we're just gonna, like, displace somebody else. Oh, they might not show up, but I did. Anyway, the fact that these laws don't get enforced, like I say, just like take the signs down, then just don't have the law, or enforce the law, because you enable people to keep breaking the law when you don't enforce the law. And these are little things, and if they're little things, then don't have the law. If they're just like little things, oh, just shut up, John, it's not a big deal. Like, okay, then don't have the law. If it's not a big deal at all, if there's no rhyme or reason to it, then get rid of it. That's what I say, because I'm like, I just hate when laws don't get enforced. Like, I feel like I have a justice complex about a lot of things, and obviously I can pick and choose, but like when I get arrested for stuff, or like I get a fine or a ticket, like I own that. Like, if I'm speeding, I'm speeding. What am I gonna do, argue? Be like, well, can't you just like not give me the ticket? Why? I was speeding, you should give me the ticket, I guess, and then I might want to reevaluate. And that's not the reason. Like, that's a punitive thing, right? Like, that's not the reason I shouldn't be speeding. But apparently that's how some people learn. I shouldn't be speeding because they apparently surveyed the roads and did all the research, and this is the speed I should go, because if something happens, this is how long it would take me to brake, and it's dangerous to speed. Yes, okay, got it. Jaywalking, other things, got it. Enforce the laws. Like, ugh. It's just, yeah. It's, whatever, man. I can't even, yeah, I just,